Today we are going to cover the topic command line arguments, which includes the importance of that string args which we define the array in the main method. So we will know how and why do we use it and how do we pass the command line arguments. Hello everyone, this is Meedhansh and welcome back to the Java series. So let's dive right into our topic, which is command line arguments. Alright, so let us begin with the command line arguments. So basically command line arguments are the arguments which we pass during the moment when we try to run the program. When we write this statement, which is Java, and Java is basically for running the program, as we all know, then Java and then the name of our file. Let's say if we take the name of a file as CLA, command line arguments. So CLA. So if we just run this much, so we will get some output. Let's say we have printed hello world. But let's say if I put a space over here, now if I put some data, let's say 1, then again space, 2, space, let's say 3 in this format, space, then 4.0, it is the float value. So in this case, I am just passing some data. And where does it get stored? It gets stored in the form of an array inside the array which we define as args. So this is how it is stored. And I will also explain a bit about how the data is stored in array. So this is how it is stored. Like we have the array starting from the position or index 0. So it is basically that args and then the square bracket 0. So this is the index, and same for the others 1, 2 and 3. And we have the args bracket, same for this one, args bracket, and then for this args and then the square bracket. Inside the square brackets is the position. In the case of arrays, it starts from the 0th, and which is known as the 0th index or 0th position. So 0th index has the first value which we enter. So in this case, 1 will be the first value, then on the first index it is 2. So this is a bit theoretical. Let's just move on to something practical. So firstly, we will create a class. So we will keep it as the public class. We'll take the full name. Let's say command line arguments. Okay, we will take it public and we will not go to the demonstrate, because instead of the demonstrate, we are going to use the main method of this class only. Otherwise, what we had to do is we had to pass the array to this class and then we can process it. So instead, we should just take the main method of the same class only. So in this case, now what we are going to do is public static void main, and inside this string, the square brackets represent an array, and done. This is the main method file properly completed, and we will keep the same name, which is command line arguments demo.java, and yes, it is now saved. So it is the public class command line arguments demo, and then public static void main string args. We have already got to know that what are these public static void, what are these keywords, and what is our main method. But we are yet to know about what is this array we have defined here and what is its use. So its use is to basically pass the arguments on the runtime, like not exactly on the runtime, but when we are going to run the program, at that time, if we pass the arguments with the command, that is known as the command line argument. So let's say if I try to print system.out.println, and the way to print, let's go back to paint. So let's say if we talk about 4.0, so 4.0 is referred to as element. So this is the term which I will be referring to in this whole lecture. So this is the element and this is the index, either the position or index, and this is the element which is stored on a particular index of the array args. Args is the array. So the way to print it is the same as I have shown here. So let's go back to the code, and here args, and inside the square brackets we will put the particular index or position. We'll save it and we'll go to the CMD, and over here we will do the Java C command line arguments dot Java. It's compiled successfully. Now Java command line arguments demo, and after this let's say I am passing some values, let's say 1, 2, as I discussed in the paint, so like 3, 4, 5.0, and let's say this much, or maybe I'm passing my name, let's say Meedhansh. So there can be multiple things which we can pass. So when I run this, what I got the output is 2. Now how 2? As I mentioned that the index starts from 0. So 1 was stored at the 0th index. Then 2 was stored at the first index. 3 at the second. 4 at the third. 5.0 at the fourth. And then my name Meedhansh was stored at the fifth index. So this way, since we printed the first index value or the first index element, so that element was the 2 which we sent here. So 2 is the resulting output. But let's say I just try to do the same thing again, but I don't pass anything, or I just pass, let's say 1. I got an error, which is array index out of bounds exception. Index 1 out of bounds for length 1. The length of the array this time was 1 in total, like not this 1, but the other length, like how many elements are there. In the case of this array, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We have 6 length, 6 as the length. But in this case, we have 1 as the total length because there is just one element, and the index for this element is 0. So, but what I am trying to do is I am trying to print the index 1, but the array is just consisting of only one element. So how can I print the other one? Basically, the position is the first one position, which is like in our human language, it is the second position. But in arrays, it is the first position because it starts from 0. I am trying to print the first position, but the 0th position is only present there and the first position is not there because the length of the array is total 1. If it was 2, then we could have get some value. To deal or tackle with this error, what we can do is we can have the loop. So instead of directly printing it, because we don't know the how much elements is the user inputting. So instead of this, what we can do is we can use a for loop. So for int I is equal to 0, we will begin from 0 and we will take the use of I so that we can print the elements. I is 0, then I is less than. Since we do not know the length of the array, it can be 5, 6, 10, 20. So we have an inbuilt function which is args.length. This returns the number of elements which are present in the array. So I have put the less than here because let's say the args.length returns us the value 7. So there are 7 elements in total, which means that the index is starting from the 0th position till the 6th position. So from 0 less than 7. So less than does not take the loop up to 7, but it is below 7. Like it is up to 7 and we don't exceed the value 7, or it is neither the value equal to 7. If I put equal to, like less than equal to over here, so in this case we will get the error because the length is 7 and we are trying to print 8 elements. So that is why we will put the less than and then I plus plus. Simple post increment. Now inside this loop we are going to print system.out.println and let's say args, and inside this not 1 not 2, instead I. So each time it iterates, we get a different value from 0, then 1, 2. So it will keep on printing and it will not show any error in case if there are no, if the array is empty. So let us check, is it working properly or not? So clear the screen and Java C command line arguments demo.java. Now let's just take the same statement, remove the C, remove the .java, and let us put some values. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.0, etc. And boom, we got the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.0. So we got all the values. Let's try it again without anything. We got no errors and it just simply showed nothing and it continued. If I try it again and I let's say put in Meedhansh, so it shows my name. Simple. So this is how we can tackle with it, and this makes the program dynamic as well. If we are putting thousands of arguments, it will print thousands of them. But if I am putting none of them, so then it will not show any error to the user. And command line arguments are very useful, like if we do not want to use the scanner class, so that we first wait for the user to input something in the command prompt and then we compute it on the runtime and print it. Instead, we can just pass the arguments during running the program. So when we execute this statement, Java command line arguments demo, and we put some arguments over here, so those arguments can be computed directly and thus we can give the output without waiting for the user. This user can directly pass the arguments. So going back, so now this is how the command line arguments work, and let us have a little practical implementation for this. So what we are going to create is that all the arguments which we get, we are going to sum up all of them and we are going to give the result. So we will keep this for loop because we don't know how many arguments can we get. Now it can be like int, let's say temp. Now temp plus equal to args of I and then system. Okay, we will not print it here, we will print here. System.out.println. Okay, so for this we have to define or initialize the temp outside. So int temp. Now remember, this is the local variable. So if I put the temp inside for loop, then it wouldn't be visible to the system.out.println outside the loop. That is why I need to initialize it earlier before I am starting the loop, and then I am using it inside the loop. So here I will simply print the temp, save, and now let's try running this. We have several commands. Okay, this one, and okay, we got the error first. So basically what it says is that incompatible type string cannot be converted to int. Okay, so before this, if we write here, let's say string, and now we try to run it, gives another error. It says that the variable temp might not have been initialized. So we should initialize it as well. Whatever it's saying, let's just keep on doing it and see the result. So, okay, it compiled finally. Now, Java command line arguments demo, let's say 1, 5, and 15. So we should get the expected output as 21. But this is what we got, 15, 15. Why? Because it concatenated these strings. Since we have the args array as the string array, like you can see here, it is this array of string. So in this case, if we are entering any number or anything, it will simply concatenate them or combine them and it will show the result. So the plus is also used for the arithmetic operation, and it is also used for the concatenation in Java. Concatenation means like combining two different strings together. Or sometimes concatenation is also used when we need to combine the double quotes with a variable, and then again we need to start the double quotes, let's say in the system.out.println. So in that case also we use the plus sign as the concatenate. Now to resolve this problem and not get the 1515 as the output, what we can do is that since these are strings, but we need to convert them into integer. So first we will take the temp as int. So we give it a default value as 0, and now inside the loop what we can do is in the temp, okay, so we can take two variables instead of one. Sum is equal to 0. So we have two integer variables, temp and sum. Or we can even remove this now because we just want to show the sum and not the temp. So we take the temp inside. Now temp is equal to, now I discussed about the wrapper classes. So int has its own wrapper class as the capital I integer, and there's a function which is very useful which is known as the parse int, and here we are going to pass the args I. So what this does is that it converts the string into the integer and it will store it in the temp. Now next step is sum plus equal to temp. Simple. Plus equal to can be like, let me just put a comment. So this particular statement equates to this. Sum is equal to sum plus temp. Both of these statements are same. So I am using the compound assignment operator plus equal to, which is the shorthand for this whole sentence or the statement. Now what we will do is we will print sum, and let's check the output. Going back to the CMD, compiling this, and let's now again input, and we want the output as 21, and yes, we got the output as 21 instead of 1515. So this is how we can create something like if you want to sum multiple numbers. Let's say I put some more 45, or for simple calculation if you put 9, so it will be 30. Now 45 or 100, 50, let us just calculate ourselves first. So 1 plus 5 plus 15 plus 9 will be 30, and then 30 plus 45 is 75, 175, and then we have the 225. So the output should be 225, and yes, it is the output. Now it becomes really simple, right? Whenever we are trying to like run the program, we simply put in all our arguments which we need to sum, and we can simply output the sum instead of waiting for the user and getting the input first, then computing it using a method and giving the output. So let us just summarize what we learned in today's class for the command line arguments. We basically learned about the importance of string args, which we use here in the main method. We initialize it all the times, but we don't use it. But now we have practically implemented that. How do we use it? So we saw how do we access the variables or access the elements in the array. So we got to know about how an array works, how are they stored from, like the index starts from 0, and index is also known as the position. So we got to know how data stored in array and how do we access it. We access it simply using this statement args, or maybe it is the name of the array, and then inside it the position. In this case I put the I, and I took the help of the for loop. And since we were encountering an exception which said that we cannot access the args1 position because we entered less amount of elements than the ones we are trying to access, so that's why we put an for loop which helped us so that we can just count the number of elements which are present in the args, and then we can go like args.length -1, which is the less than basically. So I less than args.length. So it will run till the till the number of elements run out in the args. So if there are 0 elements, then also it will not show any exception. And we also created a small summer. We can say that some unlimited number of values. There can be thousands of values which we can enter, and then we got to know the use of the wrapper classes as well. Till now we knew about them theoretically, but now we implemented them, and they are really useful because they contain many methods which can be useful in the projects like this. So this is how we created a summer which sums lots of values together and then it prints the result. We can also see what is coming up next in the sum. So if we write this system.out.println just for the sake of computation, so we can print it here as well. So save it, recompile it, and let's say we take the same number of elements. So this is the computation going on. First we got the 1 plus 5 6, 6 plus 15 21, 21 plus 9 30, 30 plus 45 will be 75, then 75 plus 100 is 175, and then 175 plus 50 is 225, and thus this is the system.out.println which was outside the for loop. So this is how we created the computation, and this is how it is working. So that is it for today. I hope the video was informative, and if you have any questions related to the command line arguments, you can comment down below. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.